Hello and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. Alan Finn back with you here again at Boyles of Killorglin, and I'm joined by our good friend Miguel. Miguel, how are we this weekend?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Folks, we've got a really interesting program for you today because myself and Miguel have been talking and we have come up with a show that I think people will find interesting as well as something to learn about what they can possibly do. Our subject for today, Miguel, is trees.
Well, trees and plants in general, but we're going to focus a little bit more in trees.
Okay.
We'll see. It's going to be a curiosities, you know.
You call that, curiosities. Okay, all right. So the
interesting facts about trees or about plants.
He wants to work for the Discovery Channel. I just know.
Yes, I want to be the next David Attenborough.
David Attenborough, yeah.
I'll be there with a hello. How are you doing?
The Spanish David Attenborough. Okay, so we're going to talk about they're a huge part of the world. Not just your garden, because we have so much woods, we know how important the Amazon rainforest is, everything like that. It's a huge part of the world.
It is actually a very, very large part of the world. And if you see the green maps, the tree maps, they are amazingly big. And if you add to scatter parts where it's trees, that they are not reflected in that green part, it's about 3 trillion trees. 3 trillion is loads of zeros there.
Right.
Loads of zeros.
I wouldn't even. I'd say my young fella'd have to struggle for that one.
Okay, it's a very important part of the ecosystem, and one of the nicest part of these things is they capture CO2 from the air, from the atmosphere, and they release oxygen. So a large oak can capture about 40 kgs of CO2 a year.
Okay.
Right? An average tree will be around 20 kg by 3 trillion. It's loads of CO2 captured from those trees.
So it's really there for our benefit.
What that means, that if we can plant more trees every year than deforestation, so if we can win the planting of the trees, we can capture CO2, carbon monoxide, and transform it into oxygen and make our life better.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because it's a way of regulating climate as well. And they accumulate the CO2. They don't release the CO2.
And what do they do with it? Yeah.
They just keep it there.
Okay.
What they do
it doesn't destroy.
Is part of the photosynthesis. The process will be from the roots they absorb the water, they create sap that goes to the leaves. The leaves capture CO2 from the atmosphere, combined with the light, it produces glucose,
yeah.
And that feeds the trees.
Okay.
In the process, they release oxygen, molecules of oxygen to the atmosphere. So it's the way they feed.
Yeah.
Is absorbing CO2 and transforming into sugar
and oxygen.
Exactly. Wow. So they accumulate that CO2 for the future if they need it.
If they need it for their own stuff. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting thing because it cleans the atmosphere, and that goes to well-being.
Yeah.
Well-being, you probably know when you are in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees, having a walk, no noise, just the birds. Then you go home and you feel very well.
You feel more refreshed, yeah.
And it's no
coincidence. It's no coincidence.
I don't know if it's any study on that.
Right.
But it's true. It's actually true. You go and you don't need to do power walking. You just go enjoy the feeling, enjoy the pleasure.
And it's just even the smells that kind of you get in a forest. I always find it quite a nice place.
The mix of smells, the rotten wood and
the fresh growth and the trees and the leaves and everything.
Those are signals. Those are signals that the plant.
Now here we go. This is Dr. Miguel. You came up with a cracker when we were talking about this.
So
you have told me that trees communicate with each other.
Yes, they do.
How
do.
does that happen, and how
They
do
do.
they find that out?
That's demonstrated, that's tradition, that they have several ways of communicating. We're not talking about language,
Yeah.
we're talking about communication. And one of them is they emit distress signals.
Distress signals.
Distress signals.
Okay.
So, for example, the grass, the smell of the grass recently cut,
Yeah.
that's a distress signal of the plant. It doesn't like it.
Okay.
The grass doesn't like it. It's being attacked, so it emits that. The other plants receive it, and that's when they get thicker and grow, because
Okay.
they feel attacked.
They feel attacked, and everyone loves it. I love the smell of freshly cut
it's
grass.
another one is some willow. Well, it's plenty of examples. Willows, when they are attacked by worms, they emit chemicals in the air that the others receive.
Okay.
Those trees that are around receive those signals, and they start producing tannins. Tannins are acidic molecules, or
Okay.
chemicals.
Chemicals. Yeah.
That thickness the leaf as well.
Okay.
Those tannins. So when the worms eat it, it's not pleasant for them. It's not good for their. They are not
Digestive.
digested
Yeah.
very well.
So the
So-
trees around the willow that seeds off the distress signals will produce these thicker leaves. The leaves fall to the ground. The worms then eat them.
No, it's
No,
when
what is
they
it when
attack
it's
the tree,
the
the
tree?
living, the leaves that are there.
Okay.
But it's basically they make it difficult
Yeah.
to the worm.
Not a very welcoming thing. So all of a sudden it's
Exactly.
uncomfortable
They
for
might
the worms,
by
and they might
trying
just.
to find something else.
Okay, so that's their way of defense.
And there's more things, and that's another studies as well. That is what it's called wood wide web.
Wood
Wide
wide web.
web,
So
all right?
www.
That
Okay.
all right, that
Trees
is
are talking.
It's a symbiosis between trees and plants and fungi, mycorrhizal fungi. They interchange food. They interchange sugars, and they are all in touch
Okay.
with a wide net. So they communicate to each other when they have problems.
Okay.
They react to that. Believe it or not, they do.
Wow.
They do.
Okay.
They do.
And you said
So-
there's studies to kind of showcase this, and obviously it's the whole biodiversity of the whole.
It's the whole ecosystem at the
Ecosystem,
end.
yeah.
Is you have to have in mind, that's another curious thing, that some trees are hosting around 300 different species of insects. Or hosting oaks can host around 30 different types of small mammals. So they're not talking about birds, not talking about
Squirrels and rats
those
and
are small
mice.
mammals. They live there.
Yeah.
But it's myriads of insects that live in those places. The nuts, the seeds, the berries,
Yeah, sure. It feeds the whole
the leaves,
ecosystem. Yeah,
everything is
about it.
all.
And do they produce
pollination.
those as well too? Obviously, there's obviously they want to obviously try and spread and obviously grow other seeds, but it's
Exactly.
also to encourage the wildlife, because the wildlife is good for the tree as well, isn't it?
Yes, it's all. They want to reproduce. They want to live, but they want to have siblings. And some studies says that they pay more attention to the siblings. That's
Oh,
mad.
that's okay. How can we
mad.
see that?
You
That's-
can
yeah.
go mad with
That's
that.
yeah,
You
I'd say
can
so.
go
Yeah,
mad,
yeah.
okay? But what they want is to spread, and those berries, for example, the seed is inside, and they need some of them. They need to be processed by a stomach of
Yeah.
a tree of a bird,
A bird.
to be able to germinate. So some pine nuts, they need the fire to open.
Oh, fire.
The natural wildfires.
Yeah.
So you have in mind that let's say in California, wildfires normally are low fires. The large sequoias, they won't get affected to those fires if they are normal wildfires, normal. And those pine nuts that are there is when they sprout.
Okay, so when
They
the
won't
wildfire-
sprout,
okay.
they're dormant there.
on their own.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's plenty of different ways that they
Yeah.
have to get started.
Yeah.
But they can absorb loads of CO2, pines, for example.
Yeah.
Californian sequoias. That's the largest tree, is a redwood, Californian redwood, that the location is unknown to protect the tree, okay?
Oh, really? It's
unknown. Yeah,
okay, so only a few scientists know.
Only a few people know that tree.
Wow.
And you know that it's 120 meter tall, which is larger than the Big Ben.
Larger than Big Ben
Big
over
Ben.
in the UK. Wow.
So that's an amazing.
Jesus, wow,
they
that's
can
amazing.
live. Those redwoods can live between 4 or 5 to 5,000 years. The largest living organisms on Earth.
Wow.
4 to 5,000 years.
That's
no?
unbelievable.
And
Because I know we've always talked about, I remember learning growing up in school about you can tell the age of a tree by the rings by the cutting of if you cut down a tree,
Yes.
that you can tell by how old it is. And
not only how
that's
old,
real carbon dating kind of stuff that it's.
not only how old, but the climate as well. You can see the difference. The thicker the ring, the better the weather for the tree.
Oh, wow.
When they are struggling, the thickness is smaller. It's a very thin ring.
So meteorologists
you
can
say,
actually tell-
counting
yeah.
back, you can see which years were better for that tree.
Wow.
So the climate was tougher or harder.
Harder, yeah.
Or more or nicer for the tree. It's
Yeah.
a very interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we'll be growing many sequoias here in Kerry, but what other types of the smallest tree? Since we've gone for the
All right,
biggest,
we've got
what's
the
the smallest?
largest. Tell me, how big will you say is the smallest tree? It's
I don't know, a couple of inches. Are we going to go
couple
that?
of inches. Yeah,
like a
you're
bonsai
right.
tree or something?
You're right. It's a dwarf willow. And
Dwarf
it's
willow.
6 centimeter will be 2 inches and a
Go away.
quarter.
2 inches.
Yeah.
But what use would you have for like that small a tree, a dwarf tree? Is that a cultivated one?
No. It's a natural
tree. And where would they grow?
Tree. They grow everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't see them.
Obviously not.
No, I don't know exactly where they grow.
Yeah.
Being honest.
Okay.
Being honest.
And how many species of trees would we have here in Ireland?
Well,
Miguel, would you have an idea?
native around 50 to 60.
Okay.
Then we have non-native, we have plenty of different ones.
Mm-hmm.
The country is one country that it has half of the trees. Only that country has half of the trees. Which
Okay.
country will you say it is?
I'm going to say China or Russia. It's one of them.
Brazil.
Brazil.
Brazil
Okay.
has half of the known trees in the world
Wow.
are only in Brazil.
Okay.
And that's another interesting thing, the Amazonian
The Amazon.
forest.
Yeah, I
It's
should have
a
probably
very
thought of the
interesting-
Amazon and stuff like that. Yeah, but I thought I was looking for the two biggest countries in the
They
world.
are deforesting
Foresting, yeah,
for growing
at an awful rate.
growing soya,
Yeah.
and those soils are not fertile for soya.
No.
It's a shame, but anyway,
Yeah.
Now-
We won't get too political.
we have to plant those trees that are destroying here in
That's it.
Ireland.
So let's get back to that though, Miguel. So those are such interesting points, but it all shows the value of the trees. So for planting trees ourselves, so we've got a garden, and if you've got a lot of
Yes.
space, what sort of things should people take into account?
So you have to take into account that evergreen trees normally capture more CO2 and host more animals than deciduous trees.
Okay.
Then you have to think seriously about the final size of that tree. Mm-hmm. And when someone tells you that a tree is a medium tree, we're talking about 4 to 5 or 6 meters tall.
Okay,
That's
right.
a medium-sized
That's a
tree.
medium-sized tree, right?
A large tree, a thuya like this one, that could go up to 50 meters.
50 meters. Jeez.
That starts to be in a large tree. We're talking about
Yeah.
those sequoias or 115.
Yeah, well, that's
You see
extra
tines.
large. They're super XXL, but
But you have to think about, if you have a very large garden and you want to have an avenue, a tree avenue, or a tree end of the garden, I would recommend you to do a structure in terms of height. So having the largest ones at the end, or trying to create an avenue on diagonal.
okay.
And then the colors, because it's not only flower. You're gonna have autumn colors. You're gonna have bark.
Yeah.
You can find trees, some betula that go red, in the bark goes red, or cornus that goes orange, with many colors of bark
Yeah.
in the winter, combining with the evergreen. So you have to think seriously. I always say, think before you start. Don't go and say, oh, I like this plant. I like that plant.
Yeah.
I like this
Yeah.
tree. Think
Throwing
seriously.
in a silver birch in the middle of nowhere, or just like what I found a lot of mistakes can be made, Miguel, is You know, if you drive into an estate and there's that gap between, say, the footpath and the road, and it's kind of a green, and sometimes you plant these massive trees, like these trees that are going to be huge, and they kind of destroy the road, they destroy the footpath.
And they can destroy, if you plant it too close to your house, they can be
destroy the foundations,
very damaging.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say, be careful with what you plant. Not be careful, just have an idea, have a plan.
Yeah.
Have a plan before you start. I like this, and then I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a structure, a harmony. You need harmony, and the trees are going to give it to you.
And they're a long-term plan. And you see, this is the thing, it's a long-term plan. Unlike the flowers that we normally feature on the show every week, these are long-term.
Well, you know what it's said about trees? The right time for planting a tree was 30 years ago, but the second best time is today.
Today. Oh, I like that. I like that.
So if you didn't do it 30 years ago, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not for you, it's for the people that will come back after.
But it can also be for you, because as you said, you know, even here there's different stages of trees. You can actually get them a little bit more, shall we say, mature or things like that, can't you?
Yes. You can have this. We normally have even 125 euro trees, or very small trees that they will grow. Some of these Goldcrest Virginia that they smell lemony with the rain. Oh, love it.
Wow.
Those, they will grow very large. We'll sell them this size, 10 inches long, and they will grow.
Yeah.
So if you have time, it's costless. It's not a big price. You don't have to spend. This one is 36 euro.
Yeah.
This thuya here.
Yeah.
It's a decent sized tree. So it's not expensive. If you when you go out, have a dinner with your wife, 80, 90 quid, and you don't even blink.
You don't even think about it, You
just go and pay, you know, and then you are, it's 30 quid.
Yeah. But this is, as I keep saying, this is for the future, and there are lots of different types of trees, and there's lots of different types of options you have, depending on the size. You know, you want to keep them away from walls, because the closer to a wall, it's going to break in time. So it's as you said, it's massive about the planning. Plan where you're going to be, hopefully, because I know when we bought my home house at the moment, where my mom and dad are living, we planted a tree when we first moved in there, and that's going over 25, nearly 30 years ago, and the trees now are they're very close together.
All right.
They're very close together. So, because again, the planning wasn't there. We were just saying, we'll put one here, another one over here, another one over here. And when it comes to it now, every time I drive home, I'm like going, my God, I'm going to have to get a tree surgeon to cut some of those trees.
It's going to cost you a fortune,
and cost a fortune. You see, that's the problem. So people need to really plan and think, you know.
And if you need to redo your foundations, that is going to be price.
So
plan.
Yeah, plan and be careful.
Everything.
You know what I mean?
Careful,
so come into a nursery, come into a garden centre like yourselves, ask what sort of stuff for a bit of advice. You've got a load of different varieties there, from your acers to your willows to, you know, those
flowering cherries,
cherry blossoms, beautiful trees that can really add. And as you mentioned at the start, it's good for the well-being, it's good for the soul. It's beautiful when you see a tree out there, and if anyone actually goes just for a walk, you will now know that for the walk through the woods and the forest, it's the energy and feeling you get from the trees. So listen, they're a huge part of the ecosystem, a massive importance to the world. Our children are learning all about how the deforestation and how we need to keep growing trees. So why not, as you said, start today? The ideal time. So listen, hopefully we've given you lots of, well, I know Dr. Miguel has given me lots of interesting facts, but hopefully you've learned a lot, and have to reconsider that maybe getting a few trees into your garden, if you have the space, have a little bit of planning, they can really add to it, and of course you're massively helping the environment. Miguel, thank you as always for your interesting stuff, and that is it for the Garden Show this week. We will hopefully be back again next weekend here in Boyles of Killorglin, and until then, happy gardening.